recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Both before and after the passage of the Corporate Transparency Act back in 2021, I spent a lot of time advocating for alternatives to the rulemaking that was taken, and even the statutory language that the Congress agreed to in an NDAA amendment. That includes debating vigorously with former Ways and Means Chair Brady and former Treasury Secretary Mnuchin. I've advocated isn't there a better way, instead of creating a new database that can be breached, hacked, collecting more information that can only be filed online for 32 million small businesses, every heating and cooling owner out there with a truck and 3 employees is going to be captured by this, for example. And while, as I've noted in my opening comments, the March interim rule was helpful, I think there's a better way, which is simply using the existing Form 1065, which every pass-through entity has to file, and the resulting K-1s that are issued. And let me say in front of the whole committee, why was that not treated as a real possibility? Number one, the Ways and Means Committee said, and the Treasury said, we just don't want any more exceptions to sharing IRS data. Well, there are 35 or so now. And if this is such a national security essential element, why wouldn't this be a worthy additional sharing? Under CTA, companies are required to report 4 key pieces of information: full legal name, date of birth, current address, and a unique identifier. And of course, that's all available except for the birth date, which I think we can figure out. I believe we have open source data on everybody's birthday. We'll refer the FinCEN to Facebook for that if you need help on that. But I really think that this is a better approach. You don't have to express an opinion on it. You're implementing the law. I got it. But I think this is a good opportunity to illustrate we never, ever really tried to minimize the cost of 32 million people. Wouldn't you agree, though, that this would be an easier way to use data that the federal government already has legal access to?
Chair Hill, thank you so much for that question and those excellent points. And I appreciate your focus on this issue. And I think that the idea that the congressional and executive branches should look at existing pools of data and determine how best to use those in the first instance is very well taken. And I look forward to working with Treasury leadership on this particular issue to explore whether this is a possibility.
Thank you for that. Let me switch subjects to the important one of geographic targeting orders, which has been actually a big successful strategy of FinCEN for many decades and was actually tackling the issue of shell companies and people hiding assets. But there's been a recent change, which is that there's a new nationwide rule as opposed to a limited geography, requiring real estate professionals to report all non-finance purchases of real estate. And according to FinCEN's estimates, the real estate industry is expected to bear over $630 million in compliance costs, or about $600 per report filed, based on some 850,000 transactions a year. Based on our years of experience with geographic targeting, how do you justify that cost related to the actual law enforcement goals being obtained, I should say?
Thank you, Chair Hill. And I think, to the point FinCEN has been issuing, using the tool of the geographic targeting order for 10 years across administrations to seek information on shell companies, legal entities purchasing real estate in a non-financed way. And the thing about the geographic targeting order is it's a temporary measure that can only be renewed if there is a law enforcement need for that information. And across 10 years, we have seen an incredible thirst among law enforcement for this information, and this information being used in active and successful law enforcement prosecutions. And that drove the decision to make what was a temporary measure into a permanent measure, widely applicable. to be the residential real estate rule, which is scheduled to come into effect in December 2025. We do think the benefits of this data.
If you could provide me some of that information in writing, and then also the results of the law enforcement successes in the past decade, that would be helpful, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman.